Hey guys, this is Nick Bratton of Bratton Sports Performance. Today we're going to talk about one of the mobility exercises or stretching exercises that we tend to take a lot of our clients through, whether they be our adult or our athlete population. This is something that tends to affect them for different reasons, whether it's from a performance standpoint or even just from like an injury or an ache or a pain. So we're going to go through the kneeling hip flexor stretch today. Now, like I talked about, this tends to influence or have an impact on both populations within here, typically just because of the society that we have today. We're a society that's constantly sitting. Because of that, our hip flexors are in a tightened position. We also tend to be a society that's constantly in extension, and so we're constantly curving our back. We're sitting back on our hips, and so again, we're just always in that shortened position in the front of our hip. So we're going to go over one of the exercises that we tend to refer to a lot of our clients. So I'm going to have Catherine drop down in a half kneeling position. So when we get set up, and I'm going to have you switch sides for me here. So when we get set up, we're going to have one knee down, the opposite leg is going to be up. Now, one of the main things that we want to do in this initial position is we want to stay in a tall stance, okay? We want good posture. We want to try and keep our back as flat as possible as we go through it. One of the common mistakes that we see as we go through it is we'll see an excessive amount of arch in our low back. And so you can see where Catherine's hips stick back a little bit, her chest starts to stick out, and at this point, we're going right into that tightened position that we're trying to stay away from. And so one thing that we talk about doing is keeping our core tightened in a braced position so that we stay up nice and tall. Now, from this position, one of the other things that we can do here is sometimes we'll use a box, or sometimes the athlete will do it themselves, but we'll actually elevate that back foot, and we'll bring that back foot up off the ground just a little bit. All that does is it puts that quad in a little bit more of a stretched position, so we get a little more stretch through the quad but also through the hip flexor. So when we program this with our athletes and even with our adults, we tend to set it up for 10 to 15 seconds at a time. We'll alternate back and forth, and we'll do 2 to 3 reps. Now, this is something that we'll do both pre and post training program. So go ahead, put this in your program. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks.